Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something absolutely huge. We are going to be demystifying the ultimate goal of Buddhist training, the profound concept of wisdom, or as it's traditionally called, Prajna. Seriously, if you've ever found yourself wondering how to just cut through the constant noise of daily life and actually see the world clearly, you are in the exact right place.
All right, let's dive right in. Every single insight we're going over today comes straight from Ryuho Okawa's fascinating writings detailing the final stage of Buddhist training. We're going to unpack exactly what it really means to transition from everyday conventional thinking to a genuine state of enlightened understanding.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at what true wisdom actually is, innate versus acquired wisdom, intellect versus transcendental wisdom, the non-duality perspective, and finally, seeing things as they are.
Okay, part one. What is true wisdom? And spoiler alert, it's way beyond just being smart.
You know, we really got to ask ourselves, what actually separates profound wisdom from just having a high IQ? Well, the text starts by introducing this term shotoku-e, or innate wisdom. And honestly, this is kind of comforting. It means we don't start from zero. Shotoku-e is our built-in baseline capacity to grasp universal truths without anyone explicitly teaching them to us. Every single one of us is born with a spark of this.
There's this perfect example in the text. It points out that a child instinctively recognizes the beauty of a flower way before they're ever taught the vocabulary word for beautiful, right? I mean, they don't need a textbook to feel pure joy when handed a toy. That raw, unconditioned recognition of value and beauty, that is your innate wisdom operating in everyday life.
Moving on to part two, innate versus acquired wisdom, the structured ascent.
So, innate wisdom is a great starting point, but it won't get us to the highest states of being on its own. We need what the source calls acquired wisdom, which is mapped out as the three wisdoms. Step one is the wisdom from hearing, literally just absorbing the knowledge. Step two is the wisdom from thinking, really chewing on it and deeply contemplating it until it logically makes sense. And finally, step three is the wisdom from practicing, embodying that knowledge through your daily actions and meditation.
Now let's just pause here for a second, because that last step, practice, is absolutely vital. The goal of climbing this whole staircase isn't just to memorize a bunch of fancy words so you can sound smart at a dinner party. The text emphasizes that actual physical practice is what extinguishes the flames of our worldly desires and our ego, moving from just memorizing to true spiritual embodiment. That's where the real magic happens.
All right, part three, intellect versus transcendental wisdom, the big contrast.
So here is the core contrast of today's explainer. We have vijnana, which is basically everyday intellect. This is that practical, two-dimensional intelligence that our modern society absolutely loves and rewards. It's all about analyzing data, categorizing things, and maximizing workplace efficiency. Like, if you are an absolute wizard at optimizing a spreadsheet, you are wielding vijnana very effectively.
But look at how the source contrasts that everyday intellect with prajna, or transcendental wisdom. Vijnana is all about analyzing, dividing, focusing heavily on the ego and strictly judging things as good or evil. Prajna, on the other hand, operates entirely differently. It integrates. It comprehensively grasps the whole picture, and it views the self and others completely equally. It's a huge invitation to step up into a much higher, more unified state of mind.
So you might be thinking, what's the actual problem with just relying on our everyday intellect? Well, while it's super handy for practical stuff, vijnana has some real limits. It is incredibly prone to ego. It gets us stuck in what the source calls dualistic thinking, meaning it constantly forces these rigid black and white divisions of good and evil onto a really complicated world. When we only use intellect, we're basically just judging, constantly analyzing, and ultimately isolating ourselves from the people around us.
Which brings us to part four, the non-duality perspective, moving beyond division.
Here's where the source offers a solution to all that stress caused by rigid thinking. Zen aku funi, which means the non-duality of good and evil. Now, this can be a bit of a head-scratcher for our everyday intellect. It essentially means looking at seemingly opposing forces not as absolute enemies that have to destroy each other, but as necessary parts of one unified whole. It's a highly elevated, completely impartial viewpoint.
And when we actually tap into this state of prajna, transcendental wisdom, it naturally creates this equal, loving view of all living things. Instead of slapping a good or bad label on people, Prajna lets us look at everyone, ourselves included, and see the absolute brilliance in our mutual struggles.
It's not just about mechanical fairness. It's a really profound spiritual equality.
Finally, part 5, seeing things as they are. The ultimate goal.
This is it. This is the top of the staircase we've been climbing all day. No Jitsu Chiken. It is the ultimate state of seeing things exactly as they are. No ego, no personal bias, no past conditioning distorting your view. It is literally the ultimate cure to ego-driven suffering because you completely stop projecting your own insecurities onto the world around you.
To explain this, the test uses this incredibly powerful metaphor, the clear, round mirror. Think about it. When you look into a flawless mirror, it doesn't judge what it sees. It simply reflects. Prajna is exactly like that mirror. It reflects the self, it reflects others, and it reflects the world with absolute crystal clarity, totally free from adding any layers of personal prejudice.
Okay, so how do we actually get this mirror mind? The source lays out some real practical steps. We have to actively work to strip away those deep-seated biases we've been lugging around since childhood. We need to completely abandon extreme viewpoints, and we do this by practicing what Buddhists call the middle way, which means avoiding the extremes of self-indulgence and extreme self-denial. Do that, and you start approaching the world as a complete blank slate.
Now, why does clearing out all this mental conditioning actually matter for you and me on a random Tuesday? Because our prejudices and our constant, rigid judgments are the exact things causing our lack of peace. When we drop them and look at the world as a blank slate, we literally stop fighting reality. We just see it, we understand it, and we navigate it with a calm, centered wisdom.
Which leads me to a final question to leave you with today. Take a real, honest look at your own daily perceptions. Are you just using your intellect to analyze the world so you can judge it? Or are you actively cultivating that clear, round mirror of wisdom, reflecting the world so you can truly understand it? It's a massive distinction, and one that just might change how you see everything. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep climbing that staircase of wisdom.